Welcome back to this course on Raja Yoga. Four main streams of yoga have been identified by Swami Vivekananda: Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. Earlier in our tradition, essentially yoga meant only Patanjali Yoga and the remaining were put as Jnana, Bhakti and Karma. Since all these have the same goal, Swami Vivekananda coined them as four streams of yoga: work or worship, philosophy or psychic control, he said. So among these four streams, we are now going to expose you to the Patanjali Yoga, which he coined as Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga or Patanjali Yoga is the path of willpower. If Jnana Yoga deals with intellect, Karma Yoga the action and Bhakti Yoga the emotions, Raja Yoga deals with the willpower. We all have the willpower and that is characterized by freedom. I can use my will to go this way or this way or this way. So we have that freedom, kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum shaktaha, as it is said. I can do a particular thing, I may not do anything, or I may do the thing in a different way. This is the special feature of the human beings. In the animal world, this is not there. There are four common points between the human beings and the animals: ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithuna. Ahara, the food; nidra, sleep; bhaya, the fear; and the maithuna, the procreation. Common to human beings and animals. What characterizes human beings is that freedom. Buddhir hitesham adhiko visheshaha buddhir vihinaha pushubhis samanaha. It is the buddhi, it is the willpower, it is the freedom to act the way that we want. Using this freedom, we can change ourselves consciously. We can rise from our normal level to become great human beings, superhuman beings, divine human beings, and reach that perfection itself. And that is the great capacity that we as human beings have. And we use it in the right way, we grow. If we use it in the wrong way, we will go down. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avasadayet, it is said. Use this freedom to rise day by day to the greater and greater heights of perfection. And don't waste your life to go down and become slaves to your emotions and slaves to the lower instincts and get lost, they said. The main important aspect is mind. Patanjali called it as chitta. So the key essence of the Raja Yoga or the Patanjali Yoga is to gain mastery over the mind. And we have all the power to gain control over the mind. And if we are having good life, it's our own making. If I am suffering, again it's my own making. So Swami Vivekananda says, man is the maker of his own destiny. If only use my mind, the willpower, the freedom in the right direction, I start growing. Life becomes better and better day by day. On the other hand, I can use this willpower and freedom to deteriorate myself also and act worse than animals also I can become. So, Patanjali has given us the techniques as to how to gain mastery over the mind. First of all, he defined what is yoga. In the second sutra, he says, Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. Yoga is to gain mastery over the mind. What is that mastery? First, the randomness of the mind, the chanchalata of the mind has to be removed and develop the power of ekagrata, concentration. And in this process of concentration, there is sharpening of the mind. faster mind, quicker mind, brilliant mind, dynamic mind, full of energy, vitality, faster, 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 faster. You should be able to grasp the things quickly, faster. Then the second dimension of mastery is to slow down the mind, calm down the mind, silence the mind, pacify the mind, go into deeper and deeper silence. In our earlier course, we have seen that happiness is silence. Happiness is an inner state of tranquility, calmness, peace, and silence. The goal of yoga, therefore, is to get into that silence, to deeper and deeper levels of silence, and reach that state of perfect silence beyond space, time, causation. And that is normally called as moksha, and Patanjali called it as kaivalya. And he also called it as swarupa. When the mind becomes silent, when chitta vritti nirodha occurs fully, then what happens? Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Then you go back to your source. Swarupa, our original state, from where the whole creation has come, from where all of us have been born, and that is our original state of infinite bliss, infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite freedom. And that is called kaivalya by Patanjali. How to reach that? Patanjali gives two main dimensions. The first is called Ashtanga Yoga, the 8-limbed yoga. The second is Advanced Raja Yoga. And Patanjali is known for his great contribution of Ashtanga Yoga, which most of the other peoples, most of the other schools have accepted. And in Ashtanga Yoga, we had two limbs. One, the Bahiranga Yoga, another is the Antaranga Yoga. The Bahiranga Yoga consists of the first 5 limbs: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. Then the 3 limbs, Antaranga Yoga: Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. The culmination of Ashtanga Yoga is Samadhi. So the goal of Ashtanga Yoga is to get to this higher level of consciousness through what we call the Samadhi. So, Raja Yoga essentially has the Ashtanga Yoga and Advanced Yoga. And this dimension of Ashtanga Yoga is a great contribution accepted by everybody. So let us take one by one the 8 limbs that we want to do that. That the first one is the dimension of Yama and Niyama. They are like foundations. A set of do's and a set of don'ts. What is to be done, what is not to be done. To achieve your goal. What is the goal? Chitta vritti nirodha. To gain mastery over the mind, what is to be done, what is not to be done. In any activity, we have 2 aspects. One, a set of do's, another set of don'ts. Supposing you have joined a course in, say, medical course, an MBBS. And what should be done? You must study all those subjects that have been prescribed for you in the MBBS course. But supposing you go on studying things unrelated, like you start studying history, geography, then maybe mathematics and other things, and you don't study the subjects which have been prescribed, then you know what is the result. Vidhi and Nisheda are prescribed in every activity. So I must study all those subjects which have been prescribed for you in MBBS and should not spend your time for other things. Not that they are bad, not that they are wrong, but you have to focus on what you do. Similarly, Patanjali says the Yama and Niyama are the Vidhi and the Nisheda. What is to be done, what is not to be done. Yama. Ahimsa satya asteya brahmacharya aparigraha yamaha. He says, Ahimsa satya asteya brahmacharya aparigraha. The 5 limbs. Ahimsa, non-violence. Violence not only at the body level, cut others, beat others, terrorize others, and at the talk level, vacha level, blame others, cream others, become angry and upset and cream on others. And at the mind level, mind also is turmoil, full of anger and violence, violent thoughts. All these had to be reduced, had to be eliminated. Ahimsa, non-violence. Start off with the body level. Gradually go to the talk level, then go to the mind level. Even in the mind level, the violent thought should not be there. That is how you practice yoga systematically at the level of Yama. Yama often is termed as the name of the Lord of Death. But Patanjali uses this in a very specialized sense, a technical term which tells what is not to be done. Ahimsa. This is Satya. Don't speak the untruth. Satyam vada, dharmanchara said. So you must have integrity, honesty, telling the truth, and not involve in untruthful activities. And that is the key feature. So doing, you will start gaining control and mastery over the mind. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, non-stealing. Non-stealing is the most important. That is the one that leads to corruptions and many other things. Stealing should be avoided. Brahmacharya, that is to get mastery over your senses. Particularly the most powerful sense is our sexual instinct. And it is sexual instinct what makes you slave to the senses. Therefore he said that you reduce the rush of the sexual instincts, and that is called the brahmacharya. And aparigraha, non-possessiveness. You have a tendency to accumulate everything that you have. Go on, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Go on accumulating. This parigraha buddhi has to be reduced. And you go into the phase of non-possessiveness. Less and less for me, you see. But what has happened in the modern society? You start with a simple single bedroom house, and when you go there and you start buying a few things, soon you find you don't have place for keeping all these things. Then you go for 2-bedroom house, and it goes into a big house with 3 bedrooms with lot of things, and go on accumulating. You want a much bigger house. This is the parigraha buddhi. So what should be done is reduce your parigraha buddhi, possessiveness. So these are the 5 yamas that Patanjali prepares. Then you have set up do's. They are called the niyamas. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanani Niyamaha. Shaucha, cleanliness. We all do the brushing of the teeth, washing of the face, and taking bath. That is cleansing outside. And in Hatha Yoga, we have cleansing of the inner organs. They are called as the kriyas. And more important is cleanliness in the mind. You have to cleanse the mind. And therefore, at the body level, at the talk level, at the mind level, you must become more and more pure, more and more cleansed. Swachha Bharat has been brought forth today, and this includes outside cleanliness, inside cleanliness as well. Santosha, all the time being happy. And that is the character. Somebody asked me, can you tell me one thing for yoga? I want to practice only one thing in yoga. I said it is Santosha. Practice Santosha and you have learnt yoga. To be happy all the time, under any circumstance. Can you be happy? Even when somebody is suffering, when you are suffering, can you be happy? Very easily said than done. But with the practice, you start achieving this. Tapas is the third. Tapas is to continue your activity until you reach the goal. So Vivekananda said, arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. You start a work with a particular goal in mind. Many difficulties will come, challenges will come, and you will be lost into those things. Then you retrieve, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. No. Tapas is to completely see that you achieve your goal and overcome all difficulties, all problems, all challenges, and you should go and see that it is done. It's called tapas. Swadhyaya, introspection. Swadhyaya, you must try to see whether there is something wrong in me. We always attribute for all our things somebody else is wrong, atmosphere is wrong, society is bad, and nation is horrible, and so much of problems in the whole world. Outside, you think everything is wrong. But we never look inside whether there is something wrong inside. So Patanjali says that most of these things that you see outside as ill is all because of the imbalances inside. The problem is inside, not outside. So you have to cleanse inside. You have to deal with your inner thing. The Swadhyaya, introspection. Ishvara Pranidhana is the fifth. Surrender to the infinite. And this is the one that helps you to overcome your ego. Ego is constriction, ego is smallness, pettiness, selfishness, and you have to overcome this pettiness, smallness, ego, because ego may lead to arrogance. All these things have to be overcome, and thereby you reach the higher states. So these are the 5 niyamas and the 5 yamas. These 10 form the foundation of the entire yoga. If you make this foundation very strong, then you can reach great heights of achievement. In the practice of this yama and niyama, there is a samanya niyama and also maha niyamas, mahavratas they are called. For example, you have to speak the truth. Satyam vada, priyam vada, asatyam apriyam ma vada. You must speak the truth, but you speak the truth which is palatable. And if the truth is very harsh, then you should not speak the truth. Apriyam satyam ma vada. For example, a surgeon is there, an oncologist, and he encounters a cancer patient. And he has diagnosed and he has got a big cancer in his stomach. Now he has studied the patient. He knows that if you tell him the truth, because of his nervous personality, the whole system is going to get aggravated. Therefore, what he does, he says that you have some tumor, I am going to cut it out, everything will be alright. He puts the whole thing in a very palatable way. And he will not tell the truth. The truth is that you have got cancer and you have cancer in the stomach. If you tell, that it will aggravate. So taking into consideration the goal, the surgeon speaks the untruth or puts the satya in a very palatable way. This is how we have to do. When you speak the truth, it should be in a very likable way, in a nice, wonderful way it should be done, so that it will not harm others. This is called the Samanayam. Therefore, in the Samanayama, you have objective. But when you take it as a Mahavrata, then you have no choice. You have to tell him that you have got cancer. You have no choice. You have to speak the truth, whether it's harsh or whether it's likable thing. And by speaking the truth in its perfect way, it is going to give you the result in a higher dimension in its totality. Desha Kara Samaya Anavachinna Sarvabhauma Mahavratam, Patanjali says. Irrespective of the space, time and the situation, you must be telling the truth and truth and truth alone. So, Apriyam Satyam Mavada is not allowed in Mahavrata. You have to tell the truth. You have to tell him and convince that yes, I am going to do that. It's in a very initial stages. So when you do this surgery, everything will become alright and you have the good chances that you are going to grow. Don't get nervous just because it is there. So you have to tell him the truth and give the proper counseling and see that he is told the truth about these things. So these are two ways by which you have to do. You do all these things as a Samanya Vrata or a Anuvrata or a Mahavrata. When you take Mahavrata, you have to go to the highest level. These are the foundations of Yama and Niyama. Then comes yogic postures, asanas. The whole world recognizes yoga as asanas. Yoga means asanas. It has become so popular. Asanas are physical postures. And what is the purpose of this? Chitta vritti nirodha. So using the body, putting the body in particular positions, you achieve the silencing of the mind, mastery over the mind. When the mind is haphazard, when the mind is full of turmoil, the body also is unsteady. The body also cannot sit in a single place, in a particular position. It wants to move and move and move. Therefore, the first condition is sthira. Sthira sukham asanam, as Patanjali said. The sthirata. You took a particular position and stay in that position steadily. And you must do for a long time. And when you do that, the mind comes into your control. There are two main schools of yogic postures. One I call it the dynamic school of asanas. Another is the static Patanjali school. And in the dynamic school, you do the fast asanas. Do the asanas speedily, one after another, one after another, one after another. And you use more and more number of asanas. You learn more and more number of asanas. 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300, 1000 asanas you learn. And start doing these practices more and more. And you must finish all these things fast. In the beginning, if you do only 20 asanas in an hour, then as you progress, in 1 hour you should be able to do 50 asana. In 1 hour you should be able to do 100 asana. Then you are in the path of growth. Whereas it is exactly opposite in the other school. If you are doing 20 asanas in 1 hour first time, you must reduce to 10 asanas per hour. 5 asanas, 3 asanas, 2 asanas, 1 asana. Stay in that continuously in this asana. Sthira sukham asanam, it is said. The two appear to be absolutely opposite of one another. The two schools used to in fact quarrel each other. And they used to criticize, very badly. But when you look at the masters in both the schools, they are all great people. So they are had their own way of expression. So what is the purpose of the dynamic school? What is the purpose of the Patanjali school? The dynamic school is meant to shatter the tamas. Laziness, lethargy, drowsiness, sleepiness, all has to be removed. So, for such a person who is very lazy, lethargic, tamasic already, you just ask him to do shavasana. You know what is the result? He'll sleep off. So he needs the fast processes of asana. So you have to make him do more and more. Therefore the tamas is shattered. And he becomes rajasic. He becomes full of vigor, vitality, brightness, sharpness and brilliant. Then when you get into this level and the mind is fast, sharp, intelligent, then you have to talk to the next level of calming of the mind, silencing of the mind. This is the second school of asanas, in which you have to relax the body. Patanjali said, Prayatna Shaitilya. How do you do asanas? You do the asana, slowly get into your position and stay relaxed, comfortable. In every asana this should be done with a beautiful smile on the face. And when you stay there for longer and longer and longer time, maybe initially only 20 seconds, then 40 seconds, maybe 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 3 minutes and so on, the mind starts wandering here and there. Therefore, what Patanjali said, he gave a trick. Ananta Samapatti. Don't allow the mind to wander here and there. Allow the mind to imagine a vast infinite blue sky or imagine a vast infinite sea, Ananta, and tune your mind to that all-pervasiveness. Ananta Samapatti. Tuning the mind to that infinite object. Then the mind stays in that silence more and more, more and more. So they are the two distinct schools that we see. But predominantly, most of the schools today, in most yoga studios, we have only the first part, hardly the second. Then we come to the fourth thing called pranayama. In pranayama, you use the prana to gain control over the mind. Because prana and mind are two faces of the same coin. Control the prana, get control over the mind. Control the mind, you get control over prana. Normally prana manifests as breathing. By controlling the breathing, you get control over the mind. Therefore, pranayama is to gain control and mastery over the breathing. Again, there are two dimensions. One is to remove the tamas, the laziness, lethargy. There you have to do fast breathing. And that set of practices are called kriyas, more prescribed in Hatha Yoga. Kapalabhati has become very famous. And this is a kriya by which you shatter your tamas. And it will invigorate your brain, stimulate all the brain cells. Kapalam bhati, the kapala bhati. So all the neurons will start getting more and more active and your memory will increase and you become more dynamic, full of energy, vitality, all these things happen. There's an increased metabolic rate and this is very, very useful for shattering our tamas. But then you come to the pranayama, in which you slow down the breathing. In Kapalabhati, you increase the speed of breathing. 20 per minute, 30 per minute, 50 per minute, 100 per minute, 120 per minute. Whereas here, you go on reducing. 20 per minute, 10 per minute, 5 per minute, 3 per minute, 1 per minute. Then, 1 breath in 2 minutes, 1 breath in 3 minutes. Go on reducing the breathing, reducing the breathing. When you slow down the breathing, the mind also slows down. The number of thoughts in the mind goes on reducing, reducing, reducing. And thereby you get the control. So using the breathing is a very powerful technique to gain control and mastery over the mind. That is pranayama. Pranasya ayamaha, pranayamaha. Gaining mastery over the prana is pranayama. The fifth thing of Bahiranga Yoga is pratyahara. Use the senses to gain mastery over the mind. If the mind is very haphazard, full of rush and uncontrolled speed, it shows up in the form of extreme rush of the senses towards their objects of enjoyment. Having recognized this thing, pratyahara is the method by which you reduce the rush of the senses towards their objects of enjoyment. Pratyahara, it is said. This to gain control over the senses. But there was a great psychoanalyst who said, no, you should not control your emotions. If you try to control your emotions, if you try to control your senses, then it will lead to suppression. You should not suppress, he said. What is to be done? Give free vent to the senses to move towards their sense objects. In the first part he was right, Sigmund Freud. But the second part he said was wrong. United States became a free society. And every student, every youngster say that I am a free bird of this society. I don't have to care for my parents, for my brothers, or teachers, or professors, anybody. I have my own individual freedom. Fine, nothing wrong in that. But what is happening? In the name of freedom, the freedom has turned into license. They become slaves to the emotions. They become slaves to the senses. They started getting into addicts. They started getting into depression. And the huge hazards have started coming up. Why did this happen? If giving free vent is the solution, why did this happen? It's here yoga identifies giving free vent is no solution. Why? Because the law of the senses is that if you try to feed the senses with a sense object, then the demand of the senses is going to increase. It's something like trying to quench a fire by putting ghee onto it. So what is to be done? Now we have a challenge. If you try to control, it will get into suppression. If you give free vent, it will get into license, cause hazards. What is the way out? It's here Patanjali has given that secret in Pratyahara. It's called sublimation. What characterizes the sublimation is slowing down. The rush of the senses should be reduced. I give a simple example. There is a reckless driver who is driving the car very fast, 80 miles, 100 miles, 120. He is overtaking all other vehicles and going. Then he sees a red light there. He is hopeful by the time he reaches the red will turn green and still he can go. So he is not reducing his speed. Very near the red light, and there is a big police inspector to catch him. And what he does, he jams the brake. Everybody in the car gets shaken up. What a reckless driver. They blame him. There is a master driver. He is also going fast, overtaking all others, 100, 120 miles. But as he sees the red, what he does, he decelerates. 120, 80, 20, comes to a smooth halt at the red. Nobody knows how the vehicle came to a halt. This is the difference between suppression and sublimation. In suppression, you do not reduce the energy that is produced, but you block. In sublimation, you reduce the energy that you are producing. So this is the trick Patanjali gives in sublimation through Pratyahara. By so doing, you will be able to gain control and mastery over the mind. These are the 5 limbs, indirect ways to gain control and mastery over the mind. Yama, Niyama, the 2 foundations. Asanas, using the body and the postures to gain control and mastery over the mind. Use the breathing to gain mastery over the mind. Use the senses to gain mastery over the mind.